Good evening, all, and a very, very warm welcome to Moyo Talks. It is Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, and this is the place where we have been broadcasting for the last many years and for the last 6 months online. So the Moyo platform is all about sharing wisdom and teachings around the subjects of healing, personal development, and spiritual growth. And tonight will be no different. But before we proceed, if I can just make a few announcements. At the bottom of your screen, or on some phones at the top of your screen, you'll see the chat box, and you are invited to chat via that chat box, share your thoughts, comments. Let me type something in there so you can see how that pops up on your device. Share through the chat box, and Jeremy will be able to read those during his presentation and get back to you. There's also a Q&A button that you'll find at the bottom of your screen or at the top of your screen on some phones. You can post specific questions also to the Q&A tab for after Jeremy's presentation. But if you are communicating during the presentation, use the chat box and he'll address those immediately. And with that out the way, if I can just ask everybody to take 3 deep breaths. Just take a deep breath to release any tightness and tension from your body. And then another deep breath just to bring yourself consciously into the space. Despite the fact that we are meeting online, energetically it is as if we're in one room. So just set your intention on being fully present today, perhaps just turning off your device or your TV for an hour, and just make sure you get the maximum value from this presentation, because it is going to be something special. Tonight, we welcome Jeremy Tolly. Jeremy is an internationally renowned pianist, singer, composer, and performer, as well as a TRE practitioner. TRE stands for Tension and Trauma Releasing Exercises, for those of you who don't know. Jeremy is also a consciousness and a voice coach, an energy healer, and a mantra and sacred music facilitator. He has won a number of South African music awards, and his seminal ambient piano album, Piano Nocturnes Volume 1, is used on healing workshops around the world. Jeremy teaches online courses and sees private clients with a focus on vocal liberation, healing, and awakening. And I'm really looking forward to tonight's presentation. So, Jeremy, a very warm welcome to our platform. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. And hello, everyone. Really lovely to have you all here. It would be pretty awesome if you could all just say hello in the chat window and just hi, my name's Jeremy from Cape Town. Just say where you are, even if it's a suburb, just to drop in and say hello. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the meat of this talk, and it's going to be fairly interactive, so I do want you guys to join in. But let's get moving. So we're here to talk about the 4 keys to healing your voice, or how to turn a stuck or unreliable speaking or singing voice into your greatest asset. Now, I work with people from around the world who have got some kind of a challenge with their voice, and you might be one of those. So I'm going to just make a big, bold statement, which is that the next 60 minutes could change the trajectory of your life, and I'm going to show you why. So, of course, I'm hooking your attention just to be real, but there's something important going on here, and I want to show you why I believe this is true. So just be patient and bear with me. So, 1, your voice determines the way that you interact with the world. It decides how you speak, In other words, when you walk into a room or you walk into a meeting, or when you've got to express boundaries with a partner or a loved one or a child, it determines the quality of that interaction. So your voice decides how you speak, sing, and the same kind of self-expression muscles also determine whether you show up online or whether you hide, or what kind of interactions you have online and whether you show up regularly. It's making the calls in your close relationships too. So in this webinar, I'm going to show you how you can heal and empower your speaking or singing voice. And most of us at some level have got some shutdown going here. We struggle to be authentic. Maybe our voice is too little or too much. Maybe we blurt it all out and hurt people. So we're going to talk about all of this. So by the end of our time together, you're going to understand exactly what steps you need to take to develop a voice that you love and that you want to share with others. And especially if you're one of those people that hides a bit online and is maybe too little or maybe too much and feels your voice is inconsistent, you're going to learn a lot about the steps you need to take. Okay. So, as I've said, your voice is the focal point of your interactions with your entire world, at work and at home. That's a profoundly powerful energy center. You could call it the throat chakra, you can call it the voice, call it what you like, but it's pivotal in our relationships with the external world. It's a key determinant in your success, enjoyment, and feeling of safety wherever you go. So in other words, our ability to show up with confidence and possibly with heart and authenticity is going to create connection or not, or separation, depending on how this thing plays out. And what I'm going to say is that deep into our neurophysiology, what's called the wandering nerve or the soul nerve is our vagus nerve that exits our brain stem, drops via the ears into the throat, goes via the heart down into the stomach. And the vagus nerve governs something essential to us, especially as modern humans. It governs our feeling of safety with each other. It governs what Dr. Stephen Porges calls social engagement. And your voice and its ability to communicate and connect will govern how safe you feel wherever you go. So if you have a habit, for example, of walking into social environments or group environments and not feeling safe, this can be what could be a dysregulated vagus nerve or a dysregulated throat chakra, depending on how you like your language. So I'd love you guys all to turn off distractions. Let's not be getting little messages or typing and doing two things. This is an hour and it's going to be very focused and we're going to do some work together. So I'd love you guys just to focus. So, number one, you're in the right place if you experience stress and anxiety speaking to groups of people. Your voice tightens and your body goes into shock. So what happens to you in group environments? Do you feel safe? You're in the right place if you feel you have a bad singing voice. The idea of singing with or in front of people terrifies you. You don't know if you can sing in tune and feel insecure about singing. I'm going to be talking a lot about the importance of singing, but this is about speaking and this is about singing. So you're in the right place if your voice is unreliable, and when you get emotional, it really lets you down. So you feel it's inconsistent. So perhaps you can let me know whether you feel that your voice is either too little, like it shuts down a little bit, or too much, or you're a hybrid of the two. So you could be a bit of both. So you either close down completely and say nothing, or you end up blurting and hurting and offending people, or you're somewhere in between. So yeah, possibly, well, rather, I'd love you just to type in and share the conversation for a moment. I'm just going to have a little quick look what's happening in the chat. So hello, everyone. I'm just going to say hi to a few. Marianne from St. James, Denise from Claremont, it looks like, Liesel from Kales River, Asha, Faye, and Erica. Yeah, Leica in Cape Town, Heidi and Trish and Nazma and Ali. Wonderful to meet you all. So Heidi, a hybrid. There are lots of hybrids, and Leica, yeah, too little or in between. So a little bit of a too little, a little bit of a shutdown voice. And hello, Bonnie from Komiki. Okay, so we're just going to, so Eloise, my voice starts vibrating when I get emotional. When I'm angry, it will completely cut off and let me choke. So that's a classic of a too little voice that shuts down. And Trish, you're describing an in-between voice. So many of us are, mine is also in between. Definitely, Carlo, a voice increasing when you're defensive. So in other words, we start getting dysregulated, and the voice starts getting bigger and bigger, and then potentially blurts or vomits it all out at once. How many of you are vomiters, where it all comes out at once, and then sometimes there's some deep hurt afterwards? So Ashafe, oscillate between both. So a lot of us are hybrids that have both. But what happens is we can work with our voice to start speaking earlier, to not carry the block, because often what happens with the oscillate between both is that we bottle, and we don't say something, and then blah, out it comes. And learning to speak much earlier and be more authentic and speak earlier and clearly from the heart is kind of, you could say, powerful medicine. All right, let us keep going. So I feel you're all in the right place right now for this. So you're in the right place. Number 4, if your voice is one of the biggest obstacles to you living with confidence, being in your power, or following your purpose. So many of you, for example, might have a deeper purpose that is manifesting, but you struggle to show up and you're afraid of being judged in the world as your kind of newer self, as this new emerging self is coming out. And it feels like you're carrying the past with you of who you were before. So sometimes a shutdown voice manifests like that. In other words, I'm terrified of just showing up as I really am now. What will they say? So I'd like to know which one of these 5 are you. 1, I experience stress and anxiety speaking to groups. 2, I have a bad singing voice. 3, my voice is unreliable when I'm emotional. 4, my voice is one of my biggest obstacles. 5, a combination of the first 4. So you may be none of these, or you may be one of them. Let's just take a deep breath and type it into the comments section which one or ones of these are you. I'm going to take a deep breath and slow down a little bit and have a little sip of tea. Cheers, everyone. Some delicious ginger tea. So let's just see what... Okay, so 1 and 2, 1 public speaking. So I'm going to just speak to that thing about 1, which is this fear of groups is actually a dysregulation in our ventral vagal nervous system. In other words, it feels unsafe to be in crowds. And that literally can be healed by doing the work. And those that don't sing, I'm going to talk quite a bit about, hello Mariki, about some of the effects on us of not singing, but I'm going to get to that because we've got this socialized idea that only singers sing and I can't sing. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. Okay, so we've got some combinations. So I'm going to say that whatever brings you here, I really honor and support you. As I've said, I run workshops with people from around the world and one-on-ones and so on. And invariably, some form of developmental wounding or trauma is at the root of why voices shut down. Little people, young children get told to shut up or told that they're too much, or they need to be seen but not heard. They get shut down by abusive parents, or they watch a father that's always very quiet, or a father that rages, or a mother that rages and shuts them down. And it can be very tender work, this. It's not just a kind of a superficial Botox for voice, because the reasons why voices shut down are deep in the roots of us growing up. So why do I do what I do? Well, firstly, because I care and I'm very passionate about it. But I've spent a lifetime singing. And there's me up on a stage there on the right, apparently having the time of my life. But, you know, I'm going to say it's a complicated, weird life doing what I was doing there, being a rock musician. One is the entire industry is very toxic, and I didn't find it very healthy to be in. But I want to show you this show. That's me at the front singing to 25,000 people, or 20,000, whatever it was on that day. The day before, I'd played in Johannesburg, supporting Oasis and Snow Patrol and all of those. and it was on the high felt. My voice was very dry, and I squawked like a rooster on the choruses of one of our hit singles. And I got off stage, and I was really ashamed. And I remember people coming up to me, "It's so great," and I was like, I didn't believe anyone. And you know, there are a few things that are weird about it. One is that being a singer is actually, you'd think being a singer in front of millions of people would be like the best thing in the whole world. But how joyful is it if you have to be perfect? And a voice is this organic, sweet, human instrument, and everyone's trying to be perfect with this, and all the joy is gone. There's another thing that, you'd think that is the life that happening in that picture, but it's not. And I want to show you the weirdest thing of them all. And I want you to really pay attention here. Look at the crowd. How many people in that crowd think I'm a singer, that they are a singer? I would say very few. They think that the person in front of them is the singer and that they're not. So 20,000 people have given away their voices. And I'm telling you, 10,000 years ago, everyone sang in a circle. This notion of I can't sing is a modern construction. You can see that in African culture still, that everyone dances in a circle. Everyone dances together. But in our culture, in Western culture, there's a deep sickness actually that says only singers sing, dancers dance, and both of them need to be perfect. And it's awful. All the joy is gone. And I want to ask you a question. When you were 4 or 5 years old and you sang and danced like a little crazy fool, what emotion accompanied that? And I want you to type something in the comment section. What emotion accompanied singing and dancing? And invariably when I ask this question, pure joy, sheer joy. So now we're adults and everybody's wondering where the joy is gone. Literally, the joy that everyone is looking for is in singing, and it's not in singing nicely. It's in singing together and learning to not give a shit, and to learn to be imperfect, and to learn to let go. For me as a singer, the joy only comes back when I sing humanly. One feels so exactly. So somebody just wrote, one feels one is not good enough. Our whole culture is toxic about this. So I hope you're getting the idea here that there's a whole other way to recover your joy, and it resembles nothing of what we're seeing of that crowd there. I want to say also that, just so you know, my background, I also have a history of trauma within my personal history, and I got on a healing journey around 25 years ago. It was kind of long and winding and complicated. I became an energy healer about 12 years ago, and a TRE and trauma facilitator about 10 years ago. And yeah, and so, but for a long time in my music career, I kind of hid my weird side. And now I just live a combination of being a healer and a trauma worker and a trauma facilitator. And I'm here to heal voices and really do this work that I love. So that's really why do I do what I do, with a bit of mindset shifts. So last year when I could still travel, there's a picture of me in Romania leading workshops with my friend Fiona. There's me leading something a year and a bit ago in Cape Town. I do a lot of work in Thailand, one-on-one work and group work, beautiful retreat centers. And so even last year I was in Costa Rica, UK, USA, Vietnam, India, and that should say now online only. So I lead workshops online, teaching vocal liberation, but also helping people with trauma. And I love this work. I love it way more than being in front of 20,000 people. This is heart work. It feels healthy, and it feels beautiful. So I also live a human life. That's me with my beautiful goddaughter, B, in Mozambique. And yeah, I just live a very quiet life and live in Elgin on a farm, and it's very quiet. So anyway, so this work that I do and that I'm talking about today is at the intersection of music, healing, voice, and spirit. That's where my jam is, in the heart. So it's heart work, And I just love what I do. And I'm really glad to meet you all. And I'm glad you're here just to share this beautiful story. So I want to say I know the healing power of singing in a group together. And I'm on a mission to get us all singing together. I think part of our missing Ubuntu, our missing connection, even to our fellow South Africans, is in our messed up relationship to our dancing bodies and our singing voices. So, and I cannot tell you the joy that comes when we sing together. So I believe the earth also needs our empowered voices to create the change in the world we hope for. So all of us who are staying a bit small and staying a bit shut down and kind of just ducking for cover, it's not enough. It's not what the earth needs. And it's time for you and me to stop playing small. So I'm very motivated to help voices heal. And that's part of really, I suppose, what I'm bringing to the world at the moment and what I care about. So I'd like you guys to close your eyes for a moment. We're going to do a little imagination session. So feet on the ground or butts on seats. Let's take a breath together. Can you imagine what it would be like to talk to groups of people with confidence and joy? So I want you to imagine yourself standing up in front of people in your heart, full of confidence and joy. Even though there are a lot of people in front of you, you feel safe, and that you let them see the quirky, funny, sweet, soulful, lovely, and powerful human being that you are. And you let that shine through. So I want you just to allow that feeling to soak into your body as best as you can. You might feel a little fear, but I want you just to breathe through that and imagine yourself feeling just safe and confident and playful and delighted in front of people. And now I'd like you also to, while with eyes closed still, to imagine what it would be like to be able to show up online with, even at your Instagram account or Facebook, in your heart, connected to your sense of purpose and confident to express yourself online. In other words, just imagine yourself that you're not hiding and that you have a confident, clear voice in the virtual world too. Like you're not scared and you're not second guessing yourself. And equally, while we've got our eyes closed, I'd like you to imagine yourself singing along to something with other people. And you're completely able to sing in tune. And just trust me, I'm going to tell you right now, you can sing in tune. I know it. And I want you just to imagine you're singing in tune and you feel confident and you feel loving and you feel playful and you feel like you don't care. And there's just a bit of joy in your body. Can you feel that joy in your body as you sing and as you're setting your voice free? Let's take a deep breath. So you can open your eyes and just let me know how that feels. Let's take a deep breath. Maybe you can, one or two of you can type in the comments. Yeah, calm. So let me know how you're feeling. Did you feel fear as you imagined it? Okay, some liberation, good. So we start dreaming a new way of being. Bonnie, still nervous, and that's okay. Then there's particular work to be done around that. It's just a first step to begin to stretch towards it, but it doesn't mean that we're necessarily there yet. And there's a lot of tools we're going to be talking about here. Okay, so freeing your voice will allow you to fulfill your potential and do what you came to planet Earth for. I'm going to say freeing your voice will support you to greater success in your work life and make you more money. I really mean it. Like being able to show up more confidently makes you more money. I believe it really improves our relationships and potentially even saves them. And I want to say this also very clearly, that if we are unable to speak our boundaries kindly, clearly, and on time, in other words, I don't like this, in other words, I do like this. If we can't do that, we set up our relationships for failure or for difficulties. You know, Brené Brown's work around boundaries and the clarity of these boundaries is absolutely groundbreaking, and it's an essential to leveling up our life. I'm going to say freeing your voice will also reduce anxiety and stress and make you feel safer wherever you go, and will increase social confidence and bring you joy. So obviously I'm a big believer, but I'm just sharing my enthusiasm. So I want you to do these mindset shifts. One, you can heal and empower your speaking or singing voice. It's totally doable. I teach people to do this all the time, and they go through it. They go from a point of all uncertainty or an aspect like I can't sing, and then they move through I can sing and it brings me joy. It does require consistent playful showing up for 5 to 15 minutes a day. So it doesn't magically happen, sadly, specifically because a shut down nervous system has, through neuroplasticity, taught itself to be a particular way. Unlearning that way and showing up for a new way requires consistency. So I'm going to share some of the steps that you need to develop a voice that you love and one that you want to share. So what this is not is a magic pill that you can just swallow and wake up tomorrow and, aha, my voice is awesome, I feel so awesome. It's just not like that. What it is a path. In other words, if you choose it, it is, in other words, if this is a calling for you or you feel called to heal this part of your being, then it is a path, and it's a beautiful path. So, and I'm actually going to quote, hopefully I'm not quoting this later, there's the wonderful international trauma specialist, collective trauma specialist, Thomas Hubel, has an amazing quote, and I'd love to just share this with you. He says, "What appears to be in the way is the way." So what appears to be in the way is the way. Wherever our trauma is where our greatest healing and our greatest potential lies. So the 4 keys, let's begin diving into the 4 keys to healing your voice. So we're going to get practical. How do we do this? So 1 is begin doing the work to understand and heal the underlying issues that have blocked your voice in the first place. It usually happened a long time ago. So how did your voice get blocked in the first place? We need to go back to your childhood, potentially, to your teens. Sometimes it can happen when you're an infant. So these are questions that you could journal about. What did your family teach you about your voice? What did you learn from mom and dad? What did I learn? Did one of them keep their mouth shut? Did the other talk a lot? Was one of them a bit abusive with their voice and that made you shut down, like, I never want to be like that? Or did you model their behavior and you ended up shouting just like them? Or, because I can guarantee you the way that your voice is right now is completely reflected in when you were 5, 7, 10, 12, 15, and gradually these patterns developed and grew. So were you allowed to speak? Were you allowed to say no? Were boundaries encouraged in your home? Were you allowed to say, no, actually, I don't want that, thank you? Or did you just have to do it? What about anger? How was anger treated in your family? Were people allowed to be sad, or was it just kind of get on with it? You know, stiff upper lip. And let's talk about singing. Was there a harmonious, healthy relationship with singing in your family? Because if there wasn't, if there was judgment or fear, then you can be pretty certain that's where your singing voice began to shut down. So these are things you can journal on and work with. And then this is a huge area, and really I'm here with anyone that's got any of these specifically. My heart is with you, because many of the people I work with do have specific traumas or moments of being shut down that taught them that it's just not safe. I work with many survivors of abuse, traumas of very different kinds, from physical abuse, emotional abuse, to sexual abuse. And all of these traumas can have a very powerful effect on shutting a voice. I cannot tell you the number of times I've worked with childhood abuse survivors where, and it always makes me emotional to talk about this, where the child starts to have to keep secrets. And you make a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old start keeping secrets, and man, that voice will shut down. So, and this also is really just from my heart to yours to say that when you're with, if you're a person with a bit more confidence and you're around a quiet person, make space for them. You never know what journey that they've walked through. So I hope that makes sense. So Also, just to say, most of us, but not all, can remember a time when we sang and danced with freedom. And we've expressed this. What emotion accompanied it? It was joy. So there's a path back to joy, but we're going to have to do some work to get there. What I'm going to say is about each of these kinds of events that happen to us as a child, including our parenting. I know they were trying their best most of the time, but we get wounded and we shut down. But I'm going to say each type of a wounding or shutdown event can be healed, but they kind of need specific remedies or medicine. You know, it requires a very focused approach to healing voice-specific events. Yeah, it requires a kind of a laser, you could almost say, a focus on the voice. So we need to get specific and deal with all of the little moments where your voice shut down. Well, all of the important ones. And as you begin to do this work, you often start to remember things. Some of you listening to this will be having little light bulb moments. And the things that arise, they're arising out of your body mind, out of your energy field, out of your memory. And those things that are arising are literally kind of popping up for you to be seen and then for you to consider releasing. So key number 2, the first key was to look at the original events. 2, learn the daily voice practices that are meditational, reduce anxiety, and empower your voice. A shutdown voice needs to learn safety. So where do we begin to do that? The first place we begin to do that is our voices generally are always experienced in relation to other human beings. So we start having a relationship with our own voice that's only alone. In other words, we have a vocal practice. So I try and make time alone every day to do vocal practice. And it begins with breath. So I'm going to just talk about diaphragmatic breath. Most of us should know what it is, but I'm going to just demonstrate it, because this is the foundation of a singing and speaking voice. Right. So what I want to say is diaphragmatic breath supports a strong voice. If your voice is inconsistent, or you struggle to sing, or your voice is too little, then one of your foundations is diaphragmatic breath. What does that mean? I'm going to show you. So a non-diaphragmatic breath is going to be into the chest and kind of like that. So that's chest breathing. Diaphragmatic breath is into the belly, where as you breathe in, the belly goes out. So let's do that together. You see my belly goes out. And then as I let the air go out, the belly falls. Let's try that together. Let's do another one. So the belly goes out and then just falls passively on the out breath. And learning to do that and practicing that, I'm going to say, is completely essential. Let me know if you have any questions, but you can put your hand on your belly. Let's take a few breaths. And you're literally on the out breath, just letting your belly fall. Okay, so that's the first part of it. Now we need that to support good, a strong voice and strong singing. The next step of it is, and this is a beautiful quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is the only moment. So a beautiful daily practice is to hum every day. I do this every morning. And I set a timer on my phone for 5 minutes. And we just hum. So let's try doing this. Put your hands on your stomach. And we're going to do diaphragmatic breath. And you close your mouth and you just hum any note, a single note, for 5 minutes. So going like this. Let's do this for a few minutes. noticing myself calm down. Let's do one more of these. Grounding your feet and feeling your body as you do it. So that's it, 5 minutes a day to begin to strengthen the voice and prepare it for singing and speech. So key number 3, do the work of learning to be in tune and add strength, dexterity, and freedom to your voice. Now, many of you are probably kind of scared. Do I know if I can be in tune? I'm not sure. I don't feel certain. And I'm going to say being in tune starts in the body. It doesn't even happen at a rational level. And I can guarantee you that if we were working in a workshop together right now, that I could get all of you to sing in tune within half an hour, because I do it all the time. So your soma is called your inner body. In other words, it's the felt sense of your inner body. And I want you just to connect with the feeling of your body on the seat, wherever you are. Take a deep breath. So feeling the inner body rather than picturing it in our heads, we're feeling it. And we're going to just play with 2 notes to see which one's in tune. So I really want you to calm down and you're going to listen. And I'm going to play a pair of notes. Number 1 or number 2, which one is in tune? Okay, so get ready with your fingers, keyboard warriors. So here's notes the number 1. Are they in tune or not? And then I'll play the second one. That's number 1. This is number 2. This is number 1. This is number 2. So which is in tune? So almost everyone, okay, so we got a couple of 2s, bunch of 1s. So I'm going to just show Lizelle and Laika. This is 1. Almost everyone's got 1. That's in tune. That's a little disharmonious. So all of you could actually hear pitch. Laika and Lizelle, could you hear that number 2 is a little discordant? Let me know. So it's that sense of being able to hear the difference between the 2 that is our route into singing in tune and just learning to trust that you can be in tune. Most of us freak out so much in the moment that it disrupts our tuning sense. But if I make it safe for you and slow, you will all be able to hear the harmony of it or the nice feeling of it. So it's just a demonstration. And as I say, I work with people around the world, and half an hour in, they are all hearing it completely perfectly in tune. Those of you that said number 2, we would probably need 15 minutes more and you'd be like, got it. So that's the foundation. That's the beginning pathway of, oh, actually I can hear in tune. So I want to say what happens in yoga classes really messes everyone up. So this is the Om moment. Teacher in the class says, let's sing Om, and goes Om. And what all the nervous singers do is they open their mouth and they go Om, and they start singing a note and they're hanging on for dear life and hoping that the note is right, but feeling that something's wrong. And it's that feeling that something's wrong that's actually your pitch sense, your tuning, telling you, hey, move note, move note. But because no one's told you that you should go, oh, you need to do what I like to call baby dolphin. Ah, you need to slide down to the right note. But you're too scared of taking up space. No one even told you that you needed to slide down to the note. So everyone, I want you to do a quick baby dolphin together, which is from the top of your range to the bottom. It sounds like this. I want you to do it. Do it with me. I know it sounds ridiculous. And all that confident singers do is that they do their baby dolphin very quickly. They don't open their mouth and expect to sing the right note. They go, and there's the right note. They slide. So to learn how to sing in tune, you've got to just learn how to be a pro at baby dolphin. And I'm going to say that happy birthday has been messing people up since time immemorial. It's not your fault that no one sings happy birthday in tune. What actually happens is that 3 people start singing different notes simultaneously. If you're a nervous singer, you think it's your fault. But the fact is no one's singing in tune. And then a few of the confident singers come together, but by then it's a complete mess and you've re-traumatized yourself. On my courses, one of the things we do is actually learn how to sing happy birthday safely, so you don't have to be afraid of every single birthday party for the rest of your life. So your voice is severely unfit. It's been sitting in a lazy boy for the most of your life. It needs fitness, dexterity, and these muscles here need to learn to let go, because there's so much tension in your vocal folds and in the musculature around your throat. You do that by doing vocal exercises. I wanted to just read it. Here's a testimonial. And this maybe just use this as a sense of confidence that people can change. The shift in what's pouring out of me is remarkable. A big change that I've noticed in my confidence is speaking up about things, my needs, issues that maybe I would have just kept quiet about before and would have remained and niggled for years. And just being out there more in every way, a brighter version of who I am and what I stand for and what I want to see in the world. So, vocal liberation is a process, and if you have a story with your voice that you want to work on, I just really recommend showing up for it. Mark is going to send via the emailer a PDF resource from my website, which you can just download, which is a magnificent tool for learning more about this. So number 4 is, and this is a complex one, is repair your social engagement nervous system and feel confident to share your voice with the world. So you can feel confident standing up in front of thousands, but you have to repair your nervous system. Your nervous system is dysregulated. So notice where you feel unsafe around other people, socially, at work, online, in meetings, at parties, standing up in front of people, speaking your truth or speaking your needs. Which ones of these are you? I'm sure you've got some of these. And these are then the areas that you're going to do the work on. And then you do the work to heal the stuck patterns or traumas. Learn tools for self-regulation. Deal with specific group wounding. So learn to overcome that fear of groups of people. And then also deal with specific individual wounding that comes from your childhood or your adult life. And I want to say this is a big one, which is notice the relationship between anxiety and shame. Most of us don't even necessarily resonate or understand that we are actually experiencing shame a lot, especially shut down voices. There's a kind of a shame. I don't want to be seen, or we imagine other people judging us. And these are the kinds of things that shut down a voice. So I'm just kind of flagging that for future work. So some specific tools. The tools for overcoming vocal blocks and specific blocks, one are behavioral. In other words, learning how to have boundaries and practice those, doing daily vocal exercises, etc. The second aspect is trauma therapies. I like working with tapping and TRE. I'm not a licensed psychotherapist, so I don't work with EMDR. I believe meditation, chanting, and spiritual vocal practices really help. And then there's a bunch of technical speaking and singing practices including scales and public speaking practices. I'll give you an example of the public speaking practices. I use some of them. One of them I used right at the beginning of this talk, saying that the next 60 minutes will change your life. I was just using a tool that I actually teach in my courses, which is start with a big statement. And catch attention rather than kind of flopping in and saying, hi, everybody, and I'm going to be your best friend. Say something significant. Be challenging. Anyway, so there are a lot of skills and you can learn to be better at it. I want us to have a little experiment, which is to tap on specific issues that each of us are carrying. And I don't know how many of you have done tapping before. Oopsie, that was not meant to happen. Oops, nor was that. So I'm going to just stop sharing and come back here. Okay, so we're going to tap together, everyone. I don't know how many of you have done tapping. Where did I study TRE? Where? I studied 10 years ago. And I was among the first wave of South Africans to study it. And there are courses going on every now and again. You can mail me after this or get my details and I can tell you who to study with. Okay, everyone, I want you to tap here. Tapping on what's called your karate point. And you can kind of repeat these phrases in your head or just let them soak over you as you feel your body. Even though in my humanity, I have some blocks. Even though I'm human and I have some vocal blocks. This is the corner of your eye. Even though I've got some fear in my voice, and some shame about singing. To the side of your eye, even though I've got some fear in my voice, some blocks in my voice, and I'm frightened of singing. I acknowledge my voice for everything it's done for me. Thank you, voice. Underneath your nose, even though sometimes I'm afraid in front of people. Even though I sometimes feel insecure with groups of people. I acknowledge my humanity and I acknowledge my voice. Just beneath the collarbones. I acknowledge the journey that my voice has been on. I remember how I shut down as a child. Underneath your armpit, about 10 centimeters below your armpit. And I give myself permission to feel these feelings and feel any blockages that are there. And just allowing myself to ground and be present in this moment. On top of your head, on your crown. Acknowledging any blocks I've got in my voice. Any fear of expressing myself. With gentleness and self-love. Back to this karate point, let's take a deep breath together. Okay, tapping in the corner of your eye. Even though I've got some fear of speaking or singing or a bit of both. Even though I'm kind of afraid of being myself. Parts of me are afraid of being judged. Afraid of ridicule. Afraid of being called out. And I also acknowledge the perfectionism in me, the need to get it right, to be perfect. And I do my best to begin to let this go. I give myself permission to let go of some of the tension in my vocal blocks. Underneath your lips, to let go of some of the tension in my voice. being really kind with myself and just allowing my whole body, energy field and being to begin to heal. Just below the collarbones, underneath the armpit. Thanking my body as it evolves. Thank you, body. Thank you, body. Tapping on the crown. Thank you so much for the journey so far. And taking a deep breath at the karate point. Okay, one final round together. This is just a kind of a group healing, a gentle Wednesday group healing together. Just kind of creating a collective field of healing and gentleness. Okay, up to the corner of the eye. So even as we are together healing our voices, I give myself permission to have a full voice. Sides of your eyes. I give myself permission to have a healthy voice. I encourage myself into vocal freedom. Underneath your eye. I give myself permission to sing again and to love my voice no matter what comes out. I give myself permission to sing. Underneath your nose. I celebrate my singing voice no matter what. I can squawk like a chicken and it's still beautiful. I love my voice and I accept it as it is. Underneath your collarbones, I give myself permission to have strong boundaries. I give myself permission to speak my truth. Underneath your armpit, I give myself permission to show up in the world. I give myself permission to be vulnerable too, and be seen as a vulnerable human being, an authentic human being. I give myself permission to speak from the heart. I give myself permission to speak from the heart. I have a voice. Say it out loud with me. I have a voice. I love my voice. I love my voice. That's it. Let's take a deep breath together. So that's just a little opening and beautiful to share together. Beautiful to share just a little bit of tapping. And see if I can full screen this window. And that's what it's like to show up for our voices. How did that feel? Just to do a little bit of work together to release it that little bit. This is another person I've worked with. I started working with Jeremy because of two major issues, my voice and self-expression, that have affected me since I was 15 years old. With Jeremy, I quickly learned to understand how and which emotional and energetic blockages affect my self-expression and techniques to unblock and train my voice. It led me to a deeper awareness of myself, and I feel more confident in both speaking and singing. Anyway, so it's possible. Just a little plug for me. As Marie Forleo says, everything's figure-outable. Your special recipe of blockages is totally figure-outable. Here's another one. I mean, maybe I'm overdoing it with these, but it still says that you can change. There have been such massive healings and breakthroughs for me along the way, with generous grace and the kind, supportive, and compassionate space that you hold. You really are a great teacher and healer with great, deep gratitude. So I'm probably oversharing on that level, but anyway, I just love doing the work. So just to remind you why you're here potentially is if you do experience stress or anxiety speaking with groups of people, perhaps your voice tightens and your body goes into some form of shock. It might be when you speak, or if you're singing to people, or singing with people, your body might do the same. Your voice is unreliable, and when it gets emotional, it lets you down. It's either too little or too much, or like most of you, it's a hybrid of the two. And again, if you're in that camp of people who gave up their singing voices, that's a beautiful reason to be here and to do the work of liberating your voice. As it says in the last sentence, you want to learn to sing with freedom and joy and get that joy of living back into your body. So here's my final question really, is what kind of liberation and empowerment would you like to experience with your voice? And really from here, just open up to a Q&A. So I'm ready for any questions, and let me know how the tapping was. You can tap in the chat window, and I'm here for Q&A. And I'm gonna have like a sip of tea.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. That was really, really awesome and
Thank
such
you.
a great exercise. I don't see any questions going into the Q&A tab. So if anybody does have any questions, post them into the chat or the Q&A tab.
Cool.
I see a lot of people posting thank yous into the chat box.
Awesome. A huge pleasure, Eloise and Heidi. Yeah, well, this is what I love doing. How does the tapping work on releasing? So yeah, I'm going to say thank you, very powerful. Hit some points of emotion, and there's some work to do. Absolutely, Liesel. And I really, so I work with tapping and TRE with my groups, and I'm going to say how tapping works. So there's a lot of science behind it, and I'm going to say from a therapy point of view, I don't use EMDR, but EMDR, for example, involves bilateral stimulation, which at one level can be moving eye movement, or you can even tap bilaterally, and it affects how our brains encode memory, including trauma. Erica, I'm sorry to hear that you're saying this session was incredibly stressful for you. So it sounds like a lot of trauma is coming up there. So, and that may need very specific work. So I'm going to say a lot of licensed psychotherapists that I know, in fact, are preferring tapping over EMDR, even though you can only be a psychologist, a registered psychologist to use EMDR. So tapping is an incredibly powerful way of bridging at the kind of mind-body barrier. So in other words, we're dealing with the mind at the level at which it encodes memory. This happened to me, and then bridging that through to the body very consciously. So it's an incredibly practical way to direct attention to very specific traumas in the voice. Yeah. So that's it. I felt calm and beginning to start feeling irritation physically after the third round. Is that standard in your chest area? So Eloise, I would say that something was coming up there. And generally when one does not a non-webinar tapping, one really pays attention to the arising sensations. Having something tangible happening in the chest area, or tears coming up, or a feeling of compression, or any number of things are all signs that something's going on. And what one would normally do is then focus the session towards that. In other words, say, okay, that's what's arising. Can we talk a little bit more? What does it feel like in your chest? And then you'd begin to describe it. It feels like heat, or it feels like prickly sensation, or it feels like there's something on my chest. And then we begin to work on that and take it a level deeper. And that's how you begin to, if you like, descend down into core trauma, really. Yeah.
Right. Jeremy, there's a question from Aaron. What is TRE? Perhaps you can explain that.
Good question. Okay, so TRE is trauma and tension releasing exercises. It is a very beautiful technique which involves like inducing what are called neurogenic tremors. Neurogenic tremors are basically the shakes. So if you do exercise and you get like your muscles shake at yoga, those are muscle fatigue tremors. You then allow these kinds of tremors to take over the whole body. And mammals in the wild shake to get rid of trauma, like if a zebra is chased by a lion and it gets away, it'll shake its whole body to release cortisol and adrenaline to release the trauma from their bodies. And it's an incredibly powerful way of releasing traumatic memory from the body, if you like. Trish, yeah, so Trish asked the question, are there specific techniques for slowing the heartbeat and calming the butterflies? What I would suggest you guys all do is I'm going to send a link with Mark for my vocal freedom guide, which is a free, like, little mini course that has very specific techniques for slowing down the heartbeat and calming the nervous system when you move into a group situation with its activation. There's also a tapping sequence there that you can follow. So Mark, I'll give you that to you. I haven't given you that link. I'm also going to say that if anyone is interested, I am running my next 9-week course, which is called Awaken Your Radiant Voice, from mid-October to mid-December. It's an intense, deep course for vocal liberation, if any of you feel called to join. Yeah. Mark, any questions, any thoughts?
Yeah, okay. So Aaron was just asking, what does the T and the R and the E stand for? I think you did mention it, but can you just mention that again?
I probably sped over it. So it's tension and trauma releasing exercises. And literally, if I'm going to just show you what it looks like, just because it's kind of fascinating. If I was actually tremoring at the moment, this is what it would look like. If I just started, my legs would be shaking. I don't know if you can kind of see them. And then eventually your whole body can get moving. And I mean, eventually it can be turning and moving, but literally these shakes actually take over the whole body. And they emanate from the brain stem and the central pattern generators in the spine. And they are a inbuilt mammal mechanism. And if you ever have a car accident or something like that, your body begins to shake, and that's literally the body trying to release the adrenaline and cortisol. And instead, in modern medicine, they tend to medicate you when we've got shakes, where we actually need to shake out the trauma.
Awesome. So Jeremy, if people want to take this journey further, if they want to learn more about your techniques and to heal the voice, what's available on this course that you have coming up? What will you be covering?
Yeah, okay, so it's a 9-week course. I'm going to say, just so that everyone knows, there's an early bird special, which is available until the 27th of September. Mark will send the link to that. And so there's $100 off, which is 1,700 Rand off. But what's in the course is it's focused on liberating speaking and singing voices. So anyone who feels called, like they feel like healing and liberating their voices is going to be a really important factor in them stepping up to the rest of their life, then this is the right kind of course for them. If this is not a thing for you, then obviously it's not. But I actually have a slide or two here, which I can just share for a moment, just to give you the lay of the land. So also just very quickly to say, follow me on Instagram and on YouTube. I do put out a lot of information, but the course looks like this. It's called Awaken Your Radiant Voice. I've done 2 this year already. This will be the 3rd one, starting the 15th of October. It is 7 modules over 9 weeks. It's very dense in terms of course material for essentially releasing voices. And there's a weekly, so each week a module gets released with 5 to 7 lessons in it. It's got a song library. It's got resource sections for healing voices and tapping sequences and so on. And then we do group work together as well, in order for people to begin to heal their dysregulated nervous system in this area. And we do weekly group work on Zoom to stretch the edges of social anxiety and help people develop safety. And I love this part of it. And everyone who does the course loves the group work, because that's actually where the healing needs to take place, is in relatedness to each other. And it's very beautiful. And so we also work in a Facebook group. And as I say there, like, to heal a voice, all you ever needed was more safety for your voice than you've ever had. So that's my job, is to create that much safety. Anyway, so as it happens, this is for my normal long webinar, but just so you guys know, there's the cost is $500, or 3 payments of $175. I'm going to just stop sharing that now. But it's just to repeat that there is $100 off for those of you that are interested in the early bird. Anyway,
Great, thank you. That really does sound amazing, and a very thorough process to get the voice going, and such important work. Really such important work to be able to speak out and share your truth. Aaron would like to know, do you run shorter workshops, like a 1-day or a 1-weekend workshop? And I do think that
so the short answer to that is no. I do one-on-ones with people where possible, but I would suggest also jumping into the free short course is a good place to start with me. If you want to just get a feeling for how I'm teaching, it's very detailed. And you'll get information about that really just by starting with the free stuff. Yeah, I think that answers it.
Cool. So I'll be sharing that link on an email now. So I'm going to send an email to everybody who's registered for this webinar. You'll receive that with the free course and the link to the new course. And there's a question here. Just let's say the last question, perhaps. How do you find the tapping and the TRE complement each other, and how do they work? Why do you choose them with respect to the voice?
Right. Yeah, I see the other. Exactly. Okay. So one of the very specific things that I needed to answer with this is that very few techniques focus specifically on the voice. And I was looking for techniques that I could specifically hone in on, firstly, on the voice. Secondly, happen in an environment where the person doing the tapping is an active participant. So I didn't want it to be, I've got hand, because I'm also an energy healer, but I've got hands on you and I'm going to fix you. I want you and I to be doing this. And if you're doing TRE, it's happening in your body. And when we're doing the tapping, it's happening in relation to each other because we're healing the social engagement nervous system and the energy field through that. And it's just, and I think things like energy work are a complement to this. But for the specifically lasering in on how do I heal and unblock a voice, that's why these techniques were chosen.
Awesome. So I'm going to be sending that email shortly. Jeremy, thank you very, very much for your time and your efforts and your wisdom this evening. It's really been wonderful to be a part of this all and to hear you sharing like this. It's really been a great evening, and judging by all the thanks that came through on the chat box, I can see that everybody who attended this evening has been thoroughly benefited from it and is very grateful. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. Much love to everyone. Just lovely to share a space. I'm sorry I didn't get to hear everyone's voices, but hopefully I will get to hear your voice in the future. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you, Jeremy. And then to everybody else, next week we'll be having another webinar. On Tuesday evening next week, we have our Messages from Spirits event with Karen Barrenshea. So you need to book for that. Those evenings always sell out. So go onto our website and you can book for that with Karen Barrenshea on Tuesday night. On Wednesday night, we have another speaker who I will have the topic tomorrow. So I'll be presenting that. I'll be sending that out tomorrow. So do stay tuned for next week's event. Jeremy, once again, thank you very much. And to everybody else, we'll see you on the same platform next week, Wednesday.